Hello and good evening, everyone. It's a privilege to have such stalwarts with us. And we've gathered here for a very sensitive tribute to the legendary Indian modernist. And we have a reason to commemorate him. We have a reason to gather together, not only because we want to just cherish his memories, but we also want to do something that was not done 25 years ago. It is very important for us as Indians to have this commemoration done of our Indian modernists, which is so true in the sense of giving an identity to the Indian modernism. It is not only about the Bengal school and the Tagores who gave what they gave in terms of Indian art, across the borders, where abstraction and minimalism became an identity. It was also about one pioneer after the independence who stood in a silence to talk about things from his works. And it is very important for all of us to acknowledge that his words were very, very few. And what made an impact on the world of Indian modern art or the modern art for the global scene was his artwork. For the time when he began doing that, way back in the 1950s and the 60s and the 70s, it must have been a very crucial time for an Indian artist to use tools they were not very acquainted with. To begin with something like the roller, to begin with something like layering. Having said that, when we join our hands for these efforts, when we made the book Between Two Mirrors for Gaitonde, it was also about not only compiling his memories, but it was also about taking his memories out of the boundaries of Indian subcontinent. And the very reason behind it is that English is a widely known language to all of us. And when it reaches Europe, when it reaches the US, people there who know Gaitonde, because it's been hung in the museums there in MoMA, Guggenheim, and people know his works across, they know why we have to celebrate the artworks of Gaitonde. A little journey, I want to go backwards to begin where the actual journey began, from a man who began working on Gaitonde, who had never met Gaitonde ever in his life. Now, this is something to do with the extraordinary guru shishya, that the student and the teacher, where the connection was never a physical connection. It was never a pen and a pencil that connected them, or a canvas or a brush connected them. It was also always a spiritual connection. And the man behind the whole process was the editor of the book, Satish Naik, editor of Chinha, the pioneer of creative writing in India, who established with a little effort and made it a large movement in the whole world. So today, Chinha has reached in most of the places in the world, not only in Maharashtra. It is not restricted to language. It pulled in a lot of people from all over the world who talk about art movements, who wrote about art movements, who mentioned things which were not otherwise known to people. So Chinha became a kind of a movement in many senses. And one of the prodigious movement in the whole world, which Chinha did, was making Gaitonde actually live with all of us. The whole process began in 1970s, early 70s, where Satish Naik began working on Chinha, began working on Gaitonde, and he silently followed. While Gaitonde was still alive, he silently started following him. He silently started collecting a little thing about him. He also started talking to people who knew Gaitonde. He grew up in a sense of understanding Gaitonde as another world of art, but never met him. We all know when we read the book about the history of Gaitonde, from his upbringing, from his detachments, from his accidents, and from his sad demise. But what we don't know is the process of his paintings. This is something to do with his temperament. Did he always do abstract work? I think it was Satish's efforts to kind of look at the every step of artwork which came up, which was Indian miniatures in the beginning, the folklore that came into the painting, and then a transition from one journey to the other. So how the first publication of Marathi Gaitonde happened, how everything was compiled, and how from there we took a leap after almost 15, 20 years to come up with English Gaitonde. A lot of people started putting in efforts, and we had legendary Shanta Gokhale one-handed, single-handed doing the entire translation of the book, where when we were in the process of understanding what sort of title we want to give, and a small paragraph that is a conversation with Nisargadatta Maharaj and as a student, which talks about the process of being between the two mirrors, where he says, there is just you and two mirrors and the innumerable forms of you. That particular thing was Gaitonde, where he stood between the two mirrors. He always explained, I am a painter. I'm not here to explain my painting. I don't know what I'm painting. The painting is the painter's mind. The painter is in the painting, and that again is a painting. Isn't that endless process? Yes, it is. It is endless process. So the discussion ends up being between the two mirrors. You cannot fathom where it began and where it's going to end. The whole book of Gaitonde is nothing else but that. Every canvas of his is just a transcendation of your eternal journey. You don't know where you want to lead to. And that's exactly where we understand the endless process of knowing Gaitonde as a painter. But we definitely want to also know Gaitonde as a human. And we know for sure there must have been a connect with some people he was very fond of, either for his food habits or for his intellectual connect. And with that, I'm going to make you talk about that human connect with Gaitonde. And again, you are a musician yourself. Gaitonde loved music. You must have had another level of connection. So can we have something from you?
Well, I was very young when I met him. Just graduate from JJ School of Art. Just got married and went to Delhi. Met him by chance at a restaurant, at a dhaba, and recognized him. Although I had never I had not met him that way in the past, but I knew him. I knew about him through my family, through my father, who was a JJ School of Art guy, and through my uncles, aunts, and through Kudar, where my grandparents lived. So I knew about him, and he had. But apart from that, much about him, I knew his sister also. So I had seen her, met her. She used to draw wonderful rangoli. And when I met him, I don't know, I still am amazed that why he took liking for us. I don't know. We were very young, both of us. I was 22, 23, Narendra was 25. And he said, yes, do you cook? I said, little bit, yes. Do you cook? You are a Konkani, so do you cook Konkani meal? I said, yes. And I will try, and then I will come and eat at your place tomorrow or day after, whatever it is. And he came, and I must have made some mashachi amti vagare kaitari with coconut, grated coconut and ground coconut. I made that, and he enjoyed. I truly don't know whether I did that very well, amti or what, because I was also not used to making such things at home that well. Anyway, he enjoyed. And then I had started learning music from Delhi Gharana, Ustad Zahur Ahmad Khasa. And he was very happy about it. Acha, you are learning music. You are playing the violin. Very nice. How are he asked me these questions. I remember. And then he said, come over and we will chat and I'll play some recordings for you. And both of us used to go to his house. I was always a little shy about it because I thought he was a very big man. And just 22, 23-year-old girl, what would I do in front of him? Narendra wasn't that shy of him, I think. He will tell you. But I was a little shy. I'm always like that. And but we enjoyed going to his Ati in Janpura extension, where we also lived in. And Mamta also came in the picture. And he used to play recordings of Lal Gudi Jayaraman. He said, "Have you heard Lal Gudi Jayaraman?" I said, "No." Then you must, being a violinist, you must listen to Lal Gudi Jayaraman, who was a very wonderful violinist from South Indian music, Karnataka music. Then he said, "Have you heard Bach?" I said, "No." Then he played Bach for us, Beethoven for us. And it was, माझ्या अंगावर काटा आला होता. खरोखरच it was really nice being there without chatting much, actually nothing. And he would just make some tea. तुम्ही चहा घेणार का? He would always ask to me. Although we were young, he never said की तू घेणार का? तुम्ही चहा घेणार का? Sometimes he used to cook also for us. Some dal chawal, and he would ask us to eat with him. We've done that. It's just a big, huge Barsati, lovely atmosphere with a big painting on the wall, on the easel, and just a few things here and there. That's all. That's all he had. And a nice little small kitchen, which didn't have much that time. Later on, I think he collected a few things. That's all. And then he said, "You must practice. You must listen to Gangubai Hangal." So we heard, of course, I had heard Gangubai Hangal. He would play his Gangubai's Marwa for us. And actually, he was observing us, I felt. Now also, I feel that he was observing us. And he knew about my background also. So he took a lot of interest in us. Then I started, I said, "Are you painting?" I said, no, I'm still into a new life of my, married life. So he said, then Mamta and his Mamta's sister, they came into picture. And we all, the four of us, used to meet at either at our place or Guy's place or at Mamta's or Dodi's place, Shalini's. And a great time we had. So you can ask Nadir also to join me in this, and we'll go further. I can't hear. Manjiri, this thing is not.
Yeah, I'm going to. Actually, I'm not going to take an interview because everybody has to really, talk about him. And so the thing is that as you're rightly saying about him observing you and him talking to you and him insisting upon the Konkani food, and he's also making you listen to what he likes. This reminds me of something where Pritish Nandi talks, and there's a lovely interview. I think one of the most sensible and sensitive interview with Gaitonde, where he says, "How do you call a person a recluse who is so fond of his own soil? He's so happy to have a person coming in from Konkan." So where he says that, life has changed so much since then for him. But core of Gaitonde's creativity remains sector. The core of an artist who decided one fine morning, standing at the crossroads of his life, all communication. These are the words by Pritish Nandi, where he talks to Gaitonde, and before that he's looking at what happened. So he talks the core of an artist who decided one fine morning, standing at the crossroads of his life, to give up all the communication and opt for silence. Who since then has tried to see where the silence could eventually lead to hope or dimension, who knows? See, these are the words which talk about, that one thing where he stands and he decides a disconnection. I think when we read the book, it's about, a rhythm that builds up. But most of the time when we're reading the book, we kind of, get onto the flow where we feel, there is a tunnel and you're entering into a zone which has a light at the end. And that's Gaitonde, and he doesn't allow you to reach him. By simply saying I'm a recluse, it's not a simple sentence anymore because he proves it and he continues to be it. For a person like you, Vidyata, you will never believe it because he spoke to you so fondly. He made you do things for him. He made things for you. Was so much a fond of a connection. But still, at the end of the day, he remained a recluse. So I think when we read the book and we see the rhythm of the book, this one particular also thing stands up like a very warm blow on us, where he decides to be a recluse. For more memories, let's have Narendraji talking to us, and let's yes, Vineelji, we're going to come to you also.
So I was just sharing that I have an interesting reference from the book, of course, which I would like to supplement Dr. Manjiri's this, the thought-provoking initial remark that Gaitonde was a recluse. But then let us move to Narendraji first, and then I'll come back.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Thanks, Satish ji and Vineet and Manjiri for having us over on this in this conversation. It's really wonderful to remember Guy, truly, honestly. You know, when you say he was a recluse, the question that crops up in my mind, what was he denying? What kind of company was he denying? What kind of world was he denying? You know, and in that sense, he could suffer fools, and it was impossible to get into. Um, you see, you have to understand that his painting was very laborious. So how much energy it was taking off his, bodily energy as well as spiritual energy is something that was phenomenal. Suppose you are running 1,000 kilometers and coming back, then you don't want to get into any conversation with, probably you want to rest. And probably this is what I feel was his uh, state of mind, when you say recluse. Because later, if you see when he was physically a little bit disabled, and then his painting also reduced to a great extent, and he was sketching and making drawings which were physically less tiring, and that was the time when he seems to have met a lot of people, younger artists, who came to Delhi and met him, and he was very welcoming. So my feeling is, that he wanted to conserve energy, not consciously, subconsciously, probably. It was not a sort of conscious decision. The energy was divided into segments. It was not like that. But uh, conserving energy was very important as a painter for him. And any dissipation of energy for any kind of cause, physical, whatever, I don't want to elaborate that, was a no. And at the same time, he was gaining energy from people. He was gaining energy. I remember very distinctly in his Varsati Nizamuddin waist. Firstly, we went to east, but the second time we went to Nizamuddin waist, closer to the Dargah. I watched him standing in the terrace. You see, his belt portion was small, and then there was a terrace at the back. He was standing there wearing a lungi and just standing with his arms spread and watching the street. It was the back, it was the front street. His house was accessible from the lane, rear lane. And his balcony or his terrace was overlooking the main street. So he was standing there, and I was wondering, as a painter, as a person, he was observing all the time. And that observation uh, was not just a visual observation. This is from my understanding. And it was an observation where probably all the senses had contributed. So it was some kind of, because this is what is expected when you don't uh, put yourself in compartments of hearing and the audio and visual and taste buds and things like that, or touch. But I think his observation had all these things together. So when he saw probably the bird sitting on the electric wires, there was all of that came into his work. Or when he saw people look down from his terrace, it was very clear what he was observing. And another decision that he had taken, that one learns later, that he had taken this decision. I'm just trying to tie these two things. That he had decided not to draw anything that his optical eye was noting down. And so he had negated the process that he had followed at a JJ. So it was a complete negation of that. So then what was he observing? This is the question, if you might ask yourself. Then you would realize that he was observing and not visual and in compartments, you see. So, and then also he was breaking frames without any hesitation. He mentions miniatures, and then his engagement with miniatures, then his engagement with Paul Klee. He does not hesitate about it, but he does beyond. He is examining. He was, to my in painting, where to you tend to get trapped for yourself. These two inform practice, but if you practice according to the acceptable to you, thing was not accepted. So it was negation of such things, and that is where probably normally, I mean, we would understand somebody saw that it was being a recluse, and well, yes and no, because uh, when you were in his company, also there was very little discussion, and not necessarily you were chatty, that. But when we were many times we used to go out and have a meal, dinner, and some things like that. And then he was chatty. He would be talking about food, as you mentioned. He would be talking about whether barra kebab is good or shami kebab is good, and his favorite was barra kebab. At uh, so these things he make him very, very interesting, and there are many memories that he walked out of, but some memories he loved to get uh, tagged along, such as food, right? But not his mother, not his father, not his family, not his associates, And also he liked the company of the memory that he probably had with his painter friends, Bal Chabra and Hussein, and so
Ram Kumar.
Ram Kumar, Krishan Khanna. He was very fond of these guys. So in many ways, I mean, he would not be meeting them every day. But when, I was holding a conference, a seminar in SPA where I was teaching, he told me, go to Krishan Khanna. Krishan is the best person who will talk here. So he was, very close to him. And I don't imagine that he had met Krishan Khanna, maybe in the entire span of our association, once or twice. Krishan's wife is, I think, Marathi, so expecting Marathi food from it was nothing of that kind. So what was that? He was not recluse to that.
Exactly.
Mentioned that for us, him, and then it is always the case that an artist, a visionary, a scientist even, there's many instances that they were so much ahead, time-wise, chronological time-wise. They were so ahead that that you remember them later, and you sort of make a memorial for them because it tells you your shortcomings, our shortcomings. It's nothing to do with it. So, so this is what I think as an opening for what.
No, I totally understand this because, as you rightly said, whenever we see his paintings, we see an exhausting process that has gone in the painting. And that immense amount of energy can come only when you are diving in your own self. You cannot be bouncing out and about with people, exhausting, and then coming back to paint something like that, what he painted, which was, I think, 100 years ahead of time. So even today, why is he relevant? It is relevant because it is simply because he dived so much deep inside. But again, Vineel, I'm coming. We want you to talk. But again, there's a paradox to this because sweetly, a young boy, Dadiba Pandol, writes about this in his and we have it in the book, where they have a conversation. Dadiba, do you know why I paint? Question from the legend to the young boy. I paint because your father pays me for the work.
It was very practical.
But for a stature of a man who is always so serious, who would imagine that this would be an answer and so impromptu? And to a very 17-year-old young boy who is just walking on the shoes of his father to become a next gallerist and a collector. And he's just simply asking, Daddy, but do you know why I paint? Because your father pays me. This is something I feel, which has also left Mr. Pandol and now, like, how can he answer this? He's supposed to be such a sensible painter. He's supposed to be and his artwork is so different than others. Even today, we don't see anybody doing work like Gaitonde. And that time, he was a pioneer. And that time, he was the pioneer who began doing it. After 25 years of his death, also, nobody has reached anywhere close to what he did. So that whole, yes. So that whole sentence which comes as impromptu because your father pays me. I think that that human connect as a human, not only as an artist, was a very sensitive and sensible thing about Gaitonde. So yes, we will continue to talk more because people didn't talk on the 10th of August, which should have been. But thanks to Satishi because he's compiled this in a wonderful book, and we know what
Absolutely.
people. Yes. So yes, Vineel, you have some memory, you said.
Not fortunate enough to have first-hand memories, but yes, of course, I must refer to some of the very quick remarks. First, let me go back to Daziba, of course, because you rekindled that chapter. So I'll just read out a couple of sentences from Daziba's narration. He says, I believe great artists are born before their time. Gaitonde's works belong to the future. It is only after a certain passage of time that people will understand and appreciate it. So exactly, not just the technique wise, but also the process of contemplation and looking inwards, exploring oneself, and then of course applying the entire plethora of techniques and uh, taking it out in the form of a physical painting. Uh, but of course, he was much ahead of his times. And probably uh, that's what makes him elusive also. Because maybe his contemporaries uh, found it difficult to understand what he was doing. That could be the cause of what we are seeing, that okay, he was not getting the due attention, so to say, from the media when he was alive. Probably that is the reason.
It's sad
Yeah.
But
because his
Uh,
Manjiri,
contemporaries definitely loved him a lot. Yes,
yeah.
Manjiri, he was not a recluse, you know. Actually, he enjoyed his own company, his books, his recorded music records. Then
exactly my point, because he
he was
calls
not
him
a
recluse.
recluse. He enjoyed our
Yes,
company, he enjoyed Mamta's company, he enjoyed
totally,
other people's
totally.
company. So he was not a
He
recluse
loved
in
when
that way,
Ram.
not
Yes,
like
but
Ramana
he
Maharshi or
himself calls
something.
him. No,
Hmm.
but he himself calls him recluse, and he
Hmm.
claims it like that. When he
Hmm.
talks of
Yeah,
Ritesh Nandi, he tells that I'm a recluse,
Hmm.
and
yeah,
he as
recluse too
Narendra ji said,
many, recluse
Hmm.
yes,
vis-a-vis,
Hmm.
right, and as
because
Narendra ji said, he chose
at
it.
the India International Center, I remember once uh, we had gone to have, and in those days at the Indian International Center, there was a small room at the first floor, which was where there was a bar. It was not possible to have drinks somewhere else. And so guy said, let's go and have a drink. So I said, you can't order it here. He said, no, no, you have to go there. So we went because that bar was packed. And to my surprise, I found Charles Correa there also. And Charles waved at Guy. And all these are etched in my memory. And I said, Guy knew him, and Charles knew him also. So why would he go into that bar? Tell me. If he was, he wanted
Recluse.
that. That was a time when he was not painting. That was a time when he was, relaxing. He had certain schedules for himself, obviously, that he would observe, paint, do nothing, sit in front of an empty canvas, just looking at it. And he says, uh, he was napik. He was not producing anything, and he had no idea what he would do. He had literally no idea. And so those moments, he did not shove under the carpet, and he did not run away from those moments. This is very important because when you are sitting in front of a canvas and you don't know what you're going to do, you have to be with that moment, and because that is a potent moment. And this is what probably tied well with what Krishnamurti says also. So he did not escape those things, but he
I
had
think
to
that
have time.
acceptance was very, very
So I
because
think this,
which are very interesting from the Bhulabai Desai Center also, where people saw him watching the seas. He would endlessly watch
yes,
the
I
sea,
can imagine.
as the sun sets and as the ripples around, and he would just endlessly get soak his eyes and mind into the sea. And
Yes.
very recently, I mean, few months ago, I was at the Prince of Wales Museum at the Jahangir Nicholson Gallery, where I met Nalini Malaniji. And I told him that, we have done this book on Gaitonde, and if you have any memory, can you just share? She just said, and she had an interview. So she said, okay, I'll talk it in the interview. I'll not tell you separately. I said, that's fine. So when she was interviewed, then she said that he would always look at the sea endlessly, his eyes lost in every single ripple. I just once said, that was Nalini J's word, I just once said, Guy, you're looking at the endless horizon. Will you ever look below your feet? And I asked her, what was his answer? He said he didn't answer. I think the acceptance was into the eternity more than, what was down there. So I don't know how to explain this, but he probably explained it in his paintings. Now you look at it, but you are not definitely ready for it, because we all probably will be ready for his paintings and the narration of his paintings after 25 or 50 years from now. We are not ready today to understand Gaitonde. I don't think we are ready. We were ready that time. So the world, unnoticed, his demise was unnoticed. The world is trying to, kind of bring him in the memories now. Maybe after 25 years, when people will look at his paintings, they'll say, now we understand what he did. So that ahead of time has come in from those, endless horizons and endless meditation, some rapid conversations, some random conversations, some engagements with people which he never thought he would, but he wanted to. So endless musics that he had, Schubert or Bach or Beethoven, everything that came in from the whole environment which he created for himself. And yes, people knew him. He knew people knew him, people respected him. His contemporaries really respected, because why would otherwise Hussein say, Guy, if I was at your place, I would have changed the world upside down. For the M.F. Hussain, he had not to say this. I mean, there was no reason why Hussain ji would say this to Gaitonde. But that kind of respect comes in very spontaneously, understanding the whole essence and potential of our contemporary. And that was the case with Ram Kumar ji, because he understood very well who is this? Why would people simply not because he said that was his, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, our generation never even encountered anything close to any aura of Gaitonde's vibrations and rays. But as much as we read book, as much as I keep reading every now and then, every
The
single word comes
problem
up with.
also is when we read something, no, we read it so seriously that we forget that there is some humor and there is some fun. There's also pulling leg.
Yes.
All these things he was not averse to. And you never know what those words, when they are printed, what do they mean to us, and how sort of um, uh, it was received in those days by whoever, Pritish Nandi or whoever. So there is that issue also. Because, if you say, Guy, how do you want your money? He said, cash. So he had no problem about it. He said, cash दे जा, मला problem नाही आहे. कारण मी म्हटलं एवढे पैसे but he had no great demands also. Otherwise, he would have painted, and he admired Hussein's energy.
Absolutely.
He really admired, I mean, it was not jealousy or anything. He had no problem with it. He said he has fantastic energy. And which means that he did not have that much of energy because he had energy put into that painting so much that he could not I couldn't imagine Gaitonde painting when Bhimsenji was singing, that kind of, I couldn't imagine that. So
No, that's the reason I keep saying, maybe after 25 years from today, when we are not there, whoever is there in this world, when they look at a Gaitonde's painting, they probably might reach somewhere close to understanding it. In the age of AI today, where we create certain illusionistic, imaginative images around us, there's such a flamboyance, whole of ambience that we create.
But we recognize
I'm
that.
sure.
We do
Yes,
recognize
people will
that.
recognize. Yes, people will. And now also people are trying to penetrate into the layers of Gaitonde's artwork. What could be behind this? What could be even behind this? It's like, it's like how people today talk about the 14th, 15th century Renaissance. This is not what it is. It was probably something else. Sometimes some artists, as Narendra was saying, they're born ahead of time. They simply don't belong to the era that they are, but they still connect to the humans of those eras.
This notion of ahead of time and behind of time is only too relative because time is not like that. And what, for instance, Mamta once asked him some difficulty or something, and what that I don't know, because Mamta didn't speak so much about that. But guy said, Mamta told me once, right? He said, in case of difficulty, go back to the masters. Now you understand the time slot. Go to the masters. I don't know whether it was going back to the masters. Go to the masters. Because if you're stuck as a painter, how am I to resolve something, that there are these feelings, there are these emotions, or there are these, what am I stuck with? Am I doing the right thing? Because there is a risk always. A true painter who's walking out of the frames he creates for himself or herself. How will it be received? He was not bothered about it. So going back to the masters to learn, that showed that guy was connected, several centuries back to a painter one, painter two, and so for him that was the time, that was the connection. These were the friends, call it spiritually or whatever you like, but these are the friends. This is what I mean. He would talk with or with probably his closest friends, like Ram Kumar or something. But otherwise, he would be looking at things or he would be going back to the masters. So
I think that is between two mirrors.
Correct.
Because this is so endless. He's looking on left and he's finding so many layers of him. He's looking at right and finding so many layers of him. Coming from the past, going to the future. Mirror is so endless. I mean, that transparency also you need to have when you're looking at yourself. And he clearly had it. So, I mean, that accident and the whole process of going into another dimension of the struggle of his life, where we don't know how many times he would have thought, why is he alive? We don't know how many times he would have thought, just make me ready to paint. And then he meets a doctor. And then yes, Vineel, you should talk about it.
Yes, that is one of the very interesting art which actually divides Gaitonde's entire painting span to probably two halves, if we may say so. Uh, because this was during the mid 1980s, where he had an accident. He was hit by an auto rickshaw while he was trying to cross a road in Delhi, and almost a period of about 7 years or 8 years almost, in which he could not paint, he could not come to a physical state where he could have the strength to paint a large canvas, which he was used to. And during that phase, he has never stopped painting. So this is something mystical. So it was painting happening in his own mind. And of course, he also has a few smaller drawings on paper. Those are there. Uh, but then more than that was happening actually in his mind. At one place he has mentioned that everything is ready, colors are ready, the canvas is ready, but the only one who is not ready to paint is Gaitonde. That means he's just mentioning about his physical disability to paint, whereas his mind was always painting, he never stopped. Uh, Let me just take a couple of lines quote from Dr. Nandakishore Lad, who is an orthopedic surgeon who treated Gaitonde, but it so happened that Gaitonde was at Delhi and Dr. Lad was at Mumbai. And Gaitonde's case was referred to Dr. Lad after a gap of about 4 to 5 years after the accident. By then, there was much of a physical pain, there was deformity, and there was disability to move or to paint. After that, when finally there was a referral was made to Dr. Lad, Dr. Lad has some observations. Um, just let me refer to the book and let me read out. Dr. Lad recalls vividly, and as he says about Gaitonde as a patient, he was more concerned about his art than his health.
Than
His
himself.
only demand was that get rid of my pain and make me stand on my own. There was no self-pity in his voice, no lament about the accident that had brought him to this point. He was calm, collected, and intensely focused, much like his paintings, which conveyed quiet but powerful energy. In that moment, Dr. Lad realized that Gaitonde wasn't asking for a cure for his physical ailment alone, but he was asking for his life back. So, really, being able to paint on a large canvas again was like getting his life back. So, that's what the observations of the had. And indeed, why not? After the treatment was successful, we see after 1988 or 89 or during the 90s, we have seen uh, another series of large canvases, and which marked differently. So all that was going on during those periods of physical inactivity uh, was actually getting ready for getting into onto the canvas. We can say.
Yes. I think also we heard this doctor, no? Uh, was
At
he
the
not the
function,
same person who came for the
at the
inauguration of
function.
that book?
Dr. Nandulad, yes,
Ah,
Yes, he was there.
so,
This is from the same doctor.
yes.
yes.
Gulad is the person.
But Guy mentions at one point that if he has the silence of Buddha, then his painting would stop. What does that mean to me? That painting was a very natural thing for him in his, um, with his temperament, with his whatever. I don't like to call it condition, spiritual condition. That's not really the word. But the state in which he was, um, um, he was painting. But but if he walked out of that state, as it were, then his painting would stop. It didn't bother him. So it didn't bother him. It was not, and this is where, I'm reminded of Cartier-Bresson, the photographer. And he used to take such crisp and beautiful pictures. And later, I think his hand was shaking as he grew older. So his pictures were not clear. So somebody asked him, so he said, is it not that your pictures have lost clarity? I said, what is clarity? Bresson said, because that state also you could defend yourself in. The brother, what is clarity? It's all humbug, it's for the mundane to see clear things. Where is that clarity in life? You tell me, are we clear about what we are doing? We are not. So there is no such, that clarity is something that is absurd, actually. It doesn't exist, So I think that is what reminds me of that physical condition that you mentioned. Interesting, very.
So,
Adding
yeah, so we
Manjiri,
actually, yes,
there are just a few minutes left for this meeting.
Yes.
Can I
yes.
just make a short remark regarding that earlier point of the
No,
time and
I think we did a wonderful tribute to him. The
yeah,
compilation of uh, unknown, I would say.
yeah.
Oh my God, this is something. This is something.
Wonderful.
That's my
My
This
God.
is
tribute to
something.
him. It's as our meeting proceeded.
Wow.
Wonderful. So
I
we have
am
an
actually, I
infinite
must
space.
say, Manjiri, I must say that I'm very grateful that he introduced me to Nisargadatta Maharaj.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. He told me, I was going to Bombay from Delhi and he told me, go and meet Nisargadatta Maharaj. And I did. I was only 28, 29 years old. And I was not into Maharaj kind of stuff that time. So, for me, Maharaj would be some wearing garlands, and these days, Baba's kind of people. I was not interested. But I had, of course, read I Am That, which which I had borrowed from him, not fully. And I went to Bombay. I met Nisargadatta Maharaj, and I'm very, very grateful for that, because after that, he became my another guru in another field.
So we'll just end up with the last sentence by Gaitonde and give him a tribute where he says, there is no end to how many styles can be born in this new form of art.
How
I think
many?
that is a statement. How
How?
many styles can be
Ah,
born in this new form of art? He himself is making a statement which is so profound, where he talks about there is no end to how many styles can be born in this new form of art. He's calling it form of art that itself is another. I think that kind of process we have with an Indian artist like Vasudev Gaitonde. Nothing can be beyond this to define the art styles. And there's no definition, but there's just a conscience, and there's an endless possibility of your own version. And that's how we have great thanking to having such a wonderful artist amongst us. Great thanks to Satish ji for having such a wonderful publication in the first place, where people should read Gaitonde Between Two Mirrors to know more about Gaitonde, to know more about art, people who want to define art must read this, because something that cannot be defined is put up into this book in beautiful words by stalwarts and beautifully narrated and put up in a book that has immense amount of plates showing paintings of Gaitonde and himself as well. So wonderful evening here, and I'm really very thankful that we gathered this, but I'm really very happy that, impromptu we came up with such a wonderful dialogue, and we all commemorate one of the ladies who actually gave the Chinha to the Indian modern art. So, he's kind of a flag bearer. He never wanted to be one, but let's consider him who is a torch bearer for us.
Lovely.
Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you. Thanks,
so
everybody.
much.
Thanks, Satish ji.
Thank you. Thank you, Satish. Thank you, Vineel.
Vineel.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.